Hello. It's Mothering Sunday, and of course we're celebrating that under very strange circumstances this year. I don't think many of us imagined that just a few weeks ago that by now we would be quite where we are in terms of having to take measures against people being infected with coronavirus. Sadly, that means that church, like many other institutions, can't operate as normal for the foreseeable future, and that may be actually for some time. But we're really trying to be creative and work out other ways of communicating, helping people to not feel too lonely, and also to assure you of God's love and care for you, even though you can't come to church in just the same way as normal. Exodus chapter 2, verses 1 to 10. A certain man, a descendant of Levi, married a Levite woman. She conceived and bore a son, and when she saw what a fine child he was, she kept him hidden for 3 months. Unable to conceal him any longer, she got a rush basket for him, made it watertight with pitch and tar, laid him in it, and placed it among the reeds by the bank of the Nile. The child's sister stood some distance away to see what would happen to him. Pharaoh's daughter came down to bathe in the river, while her ladies-in-waiting walked on the bank. She noticed the basket among the reeds, and sent her slave girl to bring it. When she opened it, there was the baby. It was crying, and she was moved with pity for it. "This must be one of the Hebrew children," she said. At this the sister approached Pharaoh's daughter. "Shall I go and fetch you one of the Hebrew women to act as a wet nurse for the child?" When Pharaoh's daughter told her to do so, she went and called the baby's mother. Pharaoh's daughter said to her, "Take the child, nurse him for me, and I shall pay you for it." She took the child and nursed him at her breast. Then, when he was old enough, she brought him to Pharaoh's daughter, who adopted him and called him Moses, because, she said, "I drew him out of the water." The story we heard from Exodus reminds us of the love that mothers, people show to babies and to children. It's a lovely story, Moses in the bulrushes, and I'm sure for a lot of us it's a familiar story that we heard first in Sunday school quite some time ago. But it's one of the classic stories about the love that human beings can show to one another, not only to children who have been born to them, but we see in Pharaoh's daughter that deep human instinct to care and love a baby that she knew nothing about, but a baby that was in need and in trouble. That sends a real Mother's Day message to us. Of course, we tend to think on Mothering Sunday about our own close associations, family members. But actually, God also calls us to be human beings, just one to another. Some of the current difficulties in the world are very troubling, but every now and again, if you read some of the small print in the media, you see inspiring stories of humanity, of one human being godlike, loving, caring to another. And I hope that that's something both that we sometimes get to experience when people show us kindness and love as God would wish. And I hope that also it works the other way around, that sometimes we are inspired by God to show love and kindness to other human beings. It's all part of this big picture that God gives us of a world full of His grace, His love, His kindness, and His wish for the best for each and every one of us. Particularly at the moment, we can't help but think of people who are working in the health services, in the NHS here in this country, but in other health services all around the world. People who, in many cases, are under immense pressure as suddenly this epidemic ramps up the demands for healthcare. So please, in this week ahead and in the months ahead indeed, do keep health workers and all the ancillary people that make health services work in your prayers and in your thoughts. They need our kindness, our thoughts, our compassion in doing a very difficult job at this particular moment in time. Mothering Sunday, as we celebrate it in the UK, goes back a long way. It goes back actually to the time when many young people were in domestic service on a live-in basis. And the idea was that before the big houses where they were working were all frantic with celebrating Easter, that the staff were able to go home for a weekend to their mother church. The idea of a mother church, the place maybe where you grew up, where you were baptized, where you felt you belonged, was really important in those days. And so, of course, also because families didn't move around so much, it meant that going back to your mother church was also tended to be going to see your family, your parents, your mother. And so this became a ritual, if you like, of annual celebration of motherhood, of parenthood. Clearly, we all have or had mothers. It goes with being human. And this weekend, we think particularly of our mothers. Some of us will have very happy memories with our mothers. Some will continue to have good relationships with our mothers who are still alive. Others will also remember some difficult times, some problematic times. But all of those things together are part of how we reflect and think about mothers and celebrate how important they all are, crucial for bringing us all into the world. That's our central theme for Mothering Sunday. At the same time, though, we also, perhaps all the more poignantly because churches are closing down temporarily at the moment, we tend to think of our own mother church, churches that we love and enjoy, where we associate with our friends and have so many happy memories, perhaps also of special occasions, of baptisms, of weddings, of other special events, as well as the weekly routine and the social aspect of being part of a church. I can understand that for the coming months, a lot of us are really going to be missing that. We're still part of that mother church, of the church that we associate with and that has become important in our lives and in our spiritual growth and journey.
Finally, I want to give you a hopeful message to end with. It's springtime, flowers are out, things are moving on. Daffodils in Sweden are called påskliljor, which translates as Easter lilies. It's a bit colder up there, so they come a bit later. But this is a message of hope for all of us as we move through Lent and approach Easter. We look forward to Jesus not only being with us, but celebrating his resurrection once again very soon. And despite the uncertainties that are around us, that's a central message of hope that we hold on to in these difficult times. God bless you all.